My name is Emily, and before I tell you what happened that night, before I explain why my cat stayed outside my bedroom door for hours, refusing to move, refusing to give up on me, I need you to understand something. I wasn't myself that week. I wasn't thinking clearly. I wasn't grounded, and I wasn't paying attention to anything around me. If anyone had looked at me for more than a second, they would have seen the exhaustion, the fear, the loneliness that I kept trying to hide. But no one saw it. Not my coworkers, not my friends, not my family. No one. Except my cat, Milo. If you've ever underestimated an animal's ability to notice the things we bury deep inside ourselves, you'll probably understand why this story still shakes me to my core. Because Milo noticed. He noticed before I did. He noticed before I admitted anything to myself. And he tried, desperately, to reach me. And I didn't understand his reason until it was almost too late. The hook of this story isn't dramatic in the way people expect. It didn't start with chaos or danger or something loud. It started with silence. A silence that spread across my apartment like fog. A silence that made even the smallest sounds feel heavier than they should have. I remember sitting on my bed after a long, draining day at work, trying to convince myself that I was fine, that everything was normal, that I could handle everything I had on my plate. But my thoughts kept slipping away from me, unraveling, falling apart no matter how tightly I tried to hold them. And that's when I heard it. The softest, most hesitant sound. A tiny paw against my bedroom door. Scratch. Pause. Scratch. Scratch. I ignored it at first. Milo scratched sometimes when he just wanted attention, or when he lost one of his toy mice under the furniture, or when he decided he didn't like the fact that a closed door separated him from anywhere I might be. But this time, something was different. His scratching wasn't playful, wasn't impatient. It was gentle, rhythmic, almost nervous, like he was asking permission instead of demanding entry. I remember sinking deeper into my pillow, rubbing my temples as if that would quiet the anxious pressure behind my eyes. I muttered, "Not now, Milo," barely loud enough for myself to hear. But he heard me. I know he did. Because after my voice faded, the scratching stopped. For a moment, I let myself relax. I thought he had walked away. Then I heard it. A soft, low sound. Not a meow, not a cry. Something in between. A small, trembling hum, like he was trying not to disturb me but couldn't stay silent. I didn't get up. I didn't answer him. I was tired, mentally drained, and I genuinely believed I just needed space to think. But Milo didn't stop. He stayed there, right outside my door, his body pressed against it, paws shifting every few seconds, breathing slow and audible, and I felt something inside me twist. I wish I could tell you I listened to him immediately. I wish I could say I stood up, opened the door, picked him up, and realized what he was trying to tell me. But I didn't. I pulled my blanket over my head, curled into myself, and told myself I just needed to get through the night. But Milo didn't leave. What I didn't know then, what I couldn't have known until much later, was that Milo had sensed something was wrong with me long before I sensed it myself. He had watched me moving through the apartment like a shadow. He had seen the way my hands shook when I tried to drink water. He had watched me pace the hallway the night before, unable to fall asleep, unable to stop my thoughts from spiraling. He had noticed the way I stopped singing in the kitchen while cooking, the way I stopped laughing at his clumsy jumps the way I used to, the way I sat on the couch staring into nothing. He noticed, and he was terrified for me. So that night, for reasons I didn't understand, he planted himself outside my door and refused to move. Scratch. Scratch, scratch. He didn't get louder. He didn't get frustrated. It wasn't the usual "let me in." It sounded like, "Please let me in." The kind of sound that makes you stop, that makes your chest tighten, that makes you feel something even if you don't want to. Hours passed. I watched the time on my phone screen slowly crawl forward. 10:14, 11:03, 12:27, 1:18. Every time I let my eyes close, a new sound came from the door. A paw shifting, a soft thump as he laid his body against it, a tiny trembling meow. I couldn't sleep. It was as if Milo was keeping me awake on purpose, but gently, lovingly, almost desperately. At one point, close to 2 a.m., everything went silent again. No scratching, no shifting, nothing. I felt relief, then guilt, then confusion. I waited for another sound, anything. But the silence stretched so long, I finally sat up. Something in my chest felt heavy, wrong. And for the first time that night, I whispered, "Milo?" Immediately, a soft, shaky meow answered. It broke me. I got out of bed slowly, walked across the room and opened the door. And there he was, my sweet orange tabby, Milo, sitting inches from the doorway. His fur slightly puffed, his eyes wide, tail wrapped tightly around his paws like he was trying to make himself smaller. He looked up at me, not like a cat expecting food or affection, but like a friend begging someone not to shut the world out. When he saw me, he stood and pressed his head against my leg so firmly it startled me. He didn't rub once and walk away like usual. He pushed into me again and again, almost frantically, like he needed to confirm I was still there, still real, still breathing. I knelt down beside him, my hands shaking as I touched him. Milo purred, loud, strong, continuous, but the sound wasn't comforting. It was urgent. The kind of purr cats make when they're trying to calm you, not themselves. I picked him up, and instead of curling into my arms, he stretched upward, paws on my shoulders, pressing his face into my neck. His whiskers twitched against my skin. He was trembling. My cat, my calm, confident, fearless Milo, was trembling. That's when I finally broke. I held him tight and cried in a way I hadn't allowed myself to cry for months, and he didn't move. Not once. He stayed there, purring into my neck, keeping his small paws anchored on my shoulders as if he was trying to hold me together physically because I was falling apart inside. When I finally managed to stand with him still in my arms, I carried him to my bed and laid down. He refused to leave my chest. He pressed his whole body weight onto me like he was grounding me, forcing my breathing to slow, forcing my heart to settle, forcing me to stay present. And that's when something strange happened. A pressure in my chest I'd been ignoring for days suddenly loosened, like I could finally breathe again. My thoughts, which had been foggy and chaotic, began to clear, and the fear I'd been pretending didn't exist resurfaced in a wave so strong I gasped. It wasn't a physical fear. It wasn't about danger from outside. It was something internal, something emotional I had been refusing to face. And Milo had faced it for me. He didn't sleep once, not a second. For the rest of the night, he stared at me, blinking slowly, his paw resting gently on my arm. And I knew, deep down, that this wasn't random, wasn't coincidence, wasn't just pet behavior. Milo had been worried about me, and the reason he stayed at my door for hours, the reason he wouldn't stop scratching, meowing softly, and pressing himself against the door, it was because he thought I needed him. He thought something was happening to me, inside me, and he refused to leave me alone in that darkness. But the truth that broke me even more, I didn't realize until the next morning. When the sun finally rose, it didn't feel like morning. It felt like waking up after being underwater for too long, gasping for air only when you reach the surface. My eyes were heavy, my head was foggy, and my body felt like I hadn't slept at all. But Milo, he looked exactly the same as he had hours before. His tail curled over my arm, his paw stretched across my wrist, his eyes watching every twitch of my expression, as if he was afraid that if he relaxed even for a second, I might fade again. I whispered, "Good morning, buddy," but my voice cracked. The words weren't cheerful. They weren't even steady. They came out fragile, almost apologetic. Milo leaned forward and touched his nose to mine. And that tiny gesture, that small, warm press of trust, hit me harder than anything else. Because I could finally see what I had missed, what I had refused to acknowledge. He hadn't stayed outside my door because he wanted attention. He hadn't stayed there because he wanted food or company, or because the door annoyed him. He stayed because he sensed something wasn't right inside me. My breathing the night before, the trembling in my hands, the way my heart raced, even when I was lying still, the way I kept staring at nothing for minutes at a time. He noticed everything. I sat up slowly, and the weight of that realization hit me all at once. I looked at him, really looked at him. His bright amber eyes, his soft stripes, the way his ears tilted when I sniffled. And tears filled my eyes again, uninvited, uncontrollable. "Milo, why didn't I notice? Why didn't I see what you were trying to tell me?" He meowed softly, not a demanding sound, but a comforting one. It was so gentle it almost didn't sound like a meow at all. That's when my phone buzzed on the nightstand, lighting up with a message from my manager reminding me of a meeting. Normally, I would have jumped out of bed, rushed to the shower, thrown myself into autopilot just to keep the routine going. But this time, I stared at the screen, then at Milo, and I realized something. I wasn't okay. And I hadn't been for a long time, and my cat had been the only one who noticed. I left my phone on silent, pulled Milo into my arms, and let myself breathe, really breathe, for the first time in what felt like months. I stayed in bed with him for an hour, maybe more. I told him everything. Not in full sentences, just broken whispers, tiny confessions, quiet pieces of truth that had been sitting inside me like stones. I told him how overwhelmed I'd been at work, how tired I was, how lonely I felt even surrounded by people, how I kept pushing myself harder because I didn't want to disappoint anyone. He listened. He didn't move. He didn't judge. He just stayed close, purring with a softness that felt like a reminder that I wasn't alone. Not once, not ever, not even when I thought I was. And the moment that truly shattered me, the moment I knew I had been blind to his worry, happened after I finally got out of bed. When I walked toward the kitchen, Milo didn't run ahead of me like he always did. He didn't sprint to his food bowl, didn't stretch dramatically or flop on the floor demanding belly rubs. He pressed against my leg with each step, matching my pace, refusing to let me walk anywhere without touching me. His tail kept brushing my calf like he was making sure I didn't disappear. But then, he did something he had never done before. When I stopped in front of the counter and placed my hands on it to steady myself, he stood on his hind legs and reached upward, placing his front paws firmly on my thigh. He looked straight up at me and let out a slow, deliberate meow, one so low and emotional it didn't sound like him. It sounded like he was pleading. I leaned down, picked him up, and as he settled against my chest, I realized something that made my heart clench so tightly I had to brace myself. Milo wasn't trying to get my attention that night. He was standing guard. He was guarding me from the storm building inside my mind, guarding me from the exhaustion I kept ignoring, guarding me from that heavy, collapsing feeling that made me retreat behind a closed door. He stayed outside my room for hours, because he thought I might not open it again if he walked away. That realization broke me. How long had he been watching me struggle, waiting for me to notice the signs myself? How many gentle warnings had I brushed off as weird cat behavior? How many nights had he stayed close, sensing the weight I carried? I looked at him, tears filling my eyes again. Too many tears for one morning, but I couldn't help it. "You saved me," I whispered. "You really saved me." Milo blinked slowly, touched his forehead to my chin, and released the softest purr I had ever heard. I spent the rest of the day doing something I hadn't done in a long time, taking care of myself. I called in sick for work. I let the guilt pass through me and melt away. I made myself breakfast, something simple, but warm. I opened the blinds and let the sunlight in. And through it all, Milo followed me, never more than a foot away, as if he wasn't convinced I was okay yet. Every time I sat down, he climbed onto my lap. Every time I stood up, he stood too. Every time I walked to another room, he trotted beside me, tail lightly touching me like a lifeline. And every time I looked into those amber eyes, I understood the truth more clearly. My cat had been carrying my emotions on his tiny shoulders, long before I had the courage to acknowledge them myself. That night, when I finally felt stable again, when the pressure in my chest faded and my breathing returned to normal, I sat on the couch and Milo curled into my side. I stroked his fur, feeling the steady rhythm of his purr, and whispered, "I promise I won't ignore the signs again. I promise I'll listen to you." Because he had listened to me. Every unspoken word, every silent cry for comfort, every shift in my heartbeat that I didn't even notice myself. What broke me even more was thinking about how long he'd been waiting for me to open the door. Not just physically, but emotionally. How long he'd been trying to push through the walls I had built around myself, and how easily I could have missed it all. Now, whenever I close a door in my apartment, he waits. Not scratching frantically, not crying, just sitting patiently, leaning against the door like he always did that night. And every time I open it, he looks up at me with those impossibly knowing eyes, as if he's checking, "Are you okay today? Are you still here with me?" And every time, I kneel down, kiss the top of his head, and whisper, "Yes, Milo, I'm okay. Thanks to you." I don't think I'll ever be able to put into words how deeply that night changed me. How his quiet persistence, his hours of waiting, his refusal to walk away, forced me to confront the emotional exhaustion I had been pretending didn't exist. But if you're watching this, if you've ever felt alone in a silent room, if you've ever felt yourself drifting inward until even your own thoughts felt distant, maybe my story can be a reminder. Sometimes the ones who save us don't speak our language. Sometimes the ones who notice our pain first walk on 4 paws. Sometimes the reason they stay by our door for hours is because they love us more than we realize. And in my case, my cat stayed outside my door that night because he couldn't risk losing me to something he didn't fully understand, but could feel in his bones. His reason broke me, because it came from love. Pure, instinctive, unconditional love. And I will spend the rest of my life trying to deserve that love. Thank you for watching and staying with me until the end of this story. It means more than you know. If this video touched your heart, please consider subscribing to the channel and sharing it with someone who needs a reminder of the quiet, powerful ways our animals take care of us. Your support helps these stories reach others who may need them. Thank you so much for being here. And may your pets, wherever they are, bring you the comfort you didn't know you needed.